Hey everyone, it's the end of 2017, finally! This was my first full year here on YouTube, and I see a lot of people doing these 2017 reviews, so I wanted to join in on the fun. So this video is going to be all about my videos that I created in 2017 related to mental health. Ooh, ah. So let's get right into what happened in January. In January, this channel was 4 months old, and I actually passed a milestone in January, which was I got my first 100 subscribers, and you may be one of them. If you are, thank you for hanging in there with me. I still can't believe that it was January that I passed 100 subscribers, because I'm on my way to 1,000, and that seems like such a long time ago, but I appreciate that those 100 were there. Thank you if you're one of them. Now, as I always do before I do videos, I did my homework, I did my research, and I looked into my statistics for all of the videos that I did for this year to see which ones were the most popular. And coincidentally, my first and second most popular videos happened in January. The first one, the #1 video from this year, is 5 myths about schizoid personality disorder. So it's not that they're shy, they just prefer to be alone. It's less complicated that way. Now, I created that video because I saw that a lot of people were coming to my channel because of a previous video that I did about schizoid personality disorder, so I thought, why not give them a little bit more? I confess I'm not maybe the most knowledgeable person about schizoid personality disorder, but I've learned a lot reading through your comments throughout the year. And on a related topic, my second most viewed video from this year is 5 myths of schizotypal personality disorder. That feels very real to them. It's not that they're just a little strange. In January, I also had a video that I didn't even realize was popular, which is what is invalidation? There's a big problem when you're in an invalidating environment, and it is this. It does not teach the emotional regulation skills that the person needs. I'm actually really happy that that video was popular because I think that's a topic that more people need to learn about. So thank you if you're one of those people who was watching it. Moving into February, February was actually a pretty eventful month as well because that was the month that I created my 100th video. As I typically do, I rushed to put together something really quickly and I realized, okay, what am I going to do for 100 videos? So I thought, of course, I'm going to put down 100 changes that I would like to see in mental health. It's thanks to people like you who are watching this video that I've continued. And I really do appreciate everybody's support. I don't know if those 100 changes are the 100 changes that I would choose today, but that's what I came up with. February, I also put out a video that was kind of a big deal for me. It may not seem so much for you, and that is why you are actually a narcissist. When you feel like somebody's coming at you, the normal reaction is not to care about how that other person's feeling in that moment. This video was a big deal for me because prior to this I had mostly been doing videos that are like, what is this disorder and what is that disorder? And this was me thinking a little bit outside of the box and trying to challenge you as a viewer to think a little bit differently about these concepts. I was afraid that it was going to drive people away. Maybe it does, I don't know. If you're still here with me, thank you. February also saw my third most popular video from this year, which is 5 ways to deal with gaslighting. Focus on the things that you know are true, that are true about yourself, that are true about what you've experienced, and allow that to guide you. But for many people, dealing with it's not enough. You want to know why it's happening in the first place. So my 4th most popular video from this year was also in February, and that's 5 reasons why somebody is gaslighting you. They might not feel worthy of those things, so they feel like they have to manipulate to get them. And finally, in February, I started to realize a lot of the things that I'm talking about and a lot of these things that I've experienced myself, they all revolve around one particular thing, and that is trauma. So I set out to make an entire series based around trauma. We are all affected by trauma in some way, and that we all know somebody who's gone through this. I tried to put as much information as I could into that series, and you'll see that that was a little bit of a foreshadowing for something that happened much, much later in the year. Moving into March, I actually followed up on that idea of having a whole series of things, and I moved on from trauma into personality traits because I realized that a lot of people online were talking about personality disorders and personality traits as though they were these fixed things. This is the way you are, you never change. And that's a really terrible way to look at things because people can change and people should have the hope that things can change. And I don't like to see people thinking so black and white and putting people into such rigid boxes. So I wanted to start to break that apart a little, and I used the DSM to do this in their alternative method of personality disorders, which I talk about in the series. In this series, I'll be talking about the 25 maladaptive personality traits and how they relate to the personality disorders that we're all already familiar with. Really, I just want to help show that people are human and our personalities are changeable. By the time we got to April, I was getting really frustrated with this channel. I was not seeing the growth that I wanted to. I didn't feel like I was really connecting with people, so I wanted to try some things that were a little bit different. Yeah, I actually did that. I made this weird kind of casino video trivia thing. I only did it once because it was way too much work and it was kind of weird. I kicked off this new series called The Mental Health Breakdown. I was covering the news of what happened the week before, and this video that I started it with in April actually became my 5th most popular video. And that's because, unfortunately, Amy Bluewell, the founder of Project Semicolon, had passed away. Project Semicolon is a nonprofit foundation that's dedicated to giving hope and love to people who've been suffering through depression, suicide, addiction, and self-injury. Amy had struggled with thoughts of suicide throughout her life, as her father had passed by suicide. So Amy had started a foundation, Project Semicolon, to remind people that your life is not over yet. The sentence is your life. The semicolon is the idea that you continue. Your story continues. Whether you've attempted suicide, whether you have a mental illness, your story is not over, and we need to hear your story. Amy did a lot for this world in starting this foundation, which continues on today. In April, I also started a series that became a bit of a mainstay here because it was easy to film, let's be honest, but this was In My Head. In My Head, and you can see how nervous I was to do this. This is a totally new experience for me to be talking in public spaces where people could be looking at me. The weather had warmed up a little bit. It was still kind of cold, but I was able to get outside a little bit, and I had to get used to being around other people filming things, which was not something that I was used to, not something that I was comfortable with, but here I am, and I continue to do it today. April also saw my 7th most viewed video from 2017, which was Life After Borderline Personality Disorder. I was hostile, I was freaking out, my thoughts were flipping back and forth constantly, my emotions were all over the place, I was crying myself to sleep. It was not pretty. I'm glad that people check this video out because, again, I want people to know that your life can change. Just because you're diagnosed with something doesn't mean that you're stuck with it, and just because you have a mental illness doesn't mean that you're not a human being. And finally, at the end of April, I started up my own Patreon like everybody here on YouTube does. Over there, I put some worksheets on self-esteem, on boundaries, and other goodies that you don't find here on YouTube. I appreciate the support of everybody that has chosen to become a patron. It means a lot to me, believe me. The patrons are helping me so much in my ability to do these videos and to help humanize mental health, so thank you. In May, we saw Mental Health Awareness Month, and this was something that I covered in the Mental Health Breakdown. May is Mental Health Month, and Mental Health America's theme for this year is Risky Business. Mental Health Awareness Month was a nice reminder this year that there are risky behaviors out there that we all do, and they can lead into mental health problems, so we should be aware, we should be cautious, and we should be discussing these things. Unfortunately, also during May, I realized the work of the Mental Health Breakdown was a little bit too much for me. It was very stressful every week to gather all the stories together, and I may have shot a little bit higher than I am capable of doing at the moment, so I stopped doing the Mental Health Breakdown. And that concludes the Mental Health Breakdown. I also did a video in May that I would like to continue doing more videos on this topic, which is gay mental health. I feel that we shouldn't, as a community, be rejecting of all criticism of ourselves. I feel like it's important to be discussing these things in this community because I don't really hear a lot of people discussing it. I see some people here and there on social media talking about it, and that's great, and I just want to see more of it, so I wanted to add my voice to the discussion. And then there was June. My 200th video was coming upon me. I had this big concept in my head that I had started to plan, and I managed to make it happen. This actually became my 20th most viewed video this year. Hopefully it will go a little bit further up as time goes on. But this video was I am not a mental illness. I am not a mental illness. I am a human being. I really wanted to make a video where people who have mental illnesses could find someone that they could relate to. I just wanted to speak for everybody that has a mental illness and let you know that you're still a human being, that having a label, having something that you have to deal with day to day, it doesn't change that you're a human being, and it doesn't make you any different than anybody else in this world. I had a lot of fun making this video. So what did you think, everybody? Did you like the video? I loved making it, and it kind of planted the seed for me a little bit that I would like to start doing videos out in the daytime instead of doing them at night. In June, we also saw my first collab as a YouTuber. That was a lot of fun. I did that with King George, who is now known as Chussel. We did it on LGBTQ plus mental health questions.
I'm not always thinking about I'm gay. And that's partially true, but at the same time, I do think that being gay defines our lives a lot.
It was a lot of work putting that together, and I thank you, Jordy, for doing that collab with me because it was fun. Moving into July, we saw my 6th most viewed video from this year, and this has actually been growing in popularity recently. I'm not really sure why, but I'm glad that it is because I like this topic. This is a topic that I want to speak more on, and that is rebound relationship psychology. If you don't go through grieving and acknowledge the loss of the person before you, it sticks with you. I know there's a lot of people that talk about love and talk about rebound relationships and all this kind of stuff, but I think it would be really cool to come at it from a mental health perspective. Now in July, I also did a video that maybe wasn't as popular, but I had a lot of fun making it, so I wanted to mention it here, and that is 10 mistakes that victims of narcissistic abuse make. When we're going through periods of feeling lonely or unacknowledged, we're going to seek attention from people. Do I look good in this? We may also feel grandiose in an effort to protect ourselves from feeling hurt. Whatever, I'm better than them anyway. What I liked about this video was that it gave me the opportunity to kind of dig into a complicated topic and show how things maybe aren't always the way that they seem when we first come across a problem in our lives. Now we head into August, and the beginning of August saw the 10th most viewed video from this year, which is hypervigilance examples. Nobody's following me, right? Okay, nobody's following me. It's all good. Why are they coming this way? This is creepy. It was kind of funny making this video because a lot of what I did in the video was kind of what went through my head sometimes walking around at night, because I was a little hypervigilant and I was a little bit freaked out that things could be threatening to me because I was always wearing headphones and not always so aware of what was going on around me. In August, I also passed another milestone here on this channel, which is that I crossed over 500 subscribers. Thank you again, everyone. You know, I look at other channels and I'm always comparing myself like you really shouldn't do when it comes to subscriber count, especially since YouTube cares much more about views and watch time than they care about subscribers. But it means a lot to me to see that number go up, so I really do appreciate it. In August, we also saw my 9th most viewed video from this year, which is Avoidant Personality Disorder versus Social Anxiety Disorder. What's really kind of going on is we're judging ourselves and we're evaluating ourselves, and it's not aligning necessarily with what's going on in reality. Once again, this allowed me to get into a topic where maybe we're a little confused about what things mean and the difference between things. Mental health is confusing, so I'm glad to be somebody who can help sort that out for people. At the end of the month, I also did something fun. I actually got out during the day, finally, because I remembered I have Kings Park Psychiatric Center right around the corner, so I did a video checking in at Kings Park Psychiatric Hospital. It was a part of Pilgrim State Psychiatric Center, which is the largest mental hospital ever built in the entire world. Let that sink in. This is a location that I visited regularly from this point forward because I just find it so fascinating that we had this giant hospital system here in America and it was all just abandoned. And as somebody who's always talking about mental health, it's just so interesting to me that I can walk around the buildings where things used to happen, where people used to be treated, probably in some ways better than they are today. Obviously, in some ways worse. It really gives me a context to where I sit in the history of mental health. In September, I went shopping. Okay, so I am here for a chair. I'm not going to tell you which chair. I'm just going to show you all the chairs, and then you're going to find out later. I may find some costume stuff, hopefully. I had cooked up this big idea in my head that I was going to do a web series, so I went shopping, and what I'm sitting on right now is one of the things that I bought. It was a stool for that web series. I realized pretty quickly that this was going to take a lot of energy and a lot of time, and it didn't feel like the right thing to be doing right now. So for now, I have put the idea of the web series on hold, even though I wrote out character bios and I had started to think through like how everybody was interacting with each other, because I'm just not ready. I'm not at that place in my life that that's something that I can do. So I'm doing what I can to grow now so that that can be done later. I also had a little bit of fun this month in questioning if personality disorders are real. It seems like maybe it's not a real thing, so why is this a personality disorder? Is this even a real thing? You know personality disorders aren't real, right? This was just a good way for me to remind everybody that these labels that we use, they're not always perfectly set in stone. They have changed over time and they continue to evolve, and they may not even exist in the future. At the beginning of October, we had the tragedy that had occurred on the Las Vegas Strip here in the United States of America, where a gunman had opened fire on a crowd of concert goers. And as we see, as this continually shows up in the news where people do these kinds of things, we saw a link to mental health in the way that it was reported and just in the way that people talk about it in social media. So I thought this was a good opportunity to come in right when it was happening and address, does violence have a link to mental health? The problem is that it stigmatizes people who are mentally ill. It makes us believe that they are dangerous and that we have to avoid them. The short answer is not really. However, most people who are victims of violent crimes are people who have mental disorders. So we have to be very careful when we're talking about violence and mental illness. I also had the opportunity to talk about whether watching these things on TV could give you PTSD. Even after you turn the TV off, even after you get away from all the news, you might feel like you have these thoughts that keep coming back into your head. It's an interesting thing to think about, and though we probably aren't going to get PTSD from watching these things on TV, they do affect our mental health. October also saw a video that seems to be rising in popularity, so I'm going to mention it here, and that is, this is why you are a gaslighting target. And we brush away all the things that we don't want to believe because we're singularly focused on wanting to be in a relationship with them. When it comes to gaslighting, especially if you're in the middle of it, it's really confusing and you need help understanding what's going on. And I wanted to reach out to all of you people out there who are going through it because I've gone through it myself. So hopefully I've been able to answer some of your questions and give you some clarity this year. Though this isn't YouTube related, at the end of October I started doing a series of pictures over on Instagram called Mental Health Matters, where I just talk about different scenarios where mental health matters. And here's the truth of it. Mental health always matters. If you're not already following me on Instagram, what are you waiting for? The link is down below. In November, I did a series of videos that seems to be rising in popularity. Again, I'm going to mention it here. This series of videos was on attachment styles. First, we have anxious preoccupied attachment style. No matter how many times they assure you that they're there for you, it doesn't feel like enough. It doesn't feel like they really care about you. There's also dismissive avoidant attachment. You do want to be in a relationship, you want to be around this person, but it feels like they're always encroaching on you, like they're always engulfing you, like they're always too involved in your life. We also have fearful avoidant or disorganized attachment style. So you find somebody that you're dating and you're like, oh, I love this person. And then it feels too close and you're like, get them out of my life, I need my space. I'm happy that these videos are reaching people because I think attachment is a really important part of our life that we're not talking enough about. And I think if society had a greater understanding of how childhood and child rearing and parenting affects us and sets us up for the rest of our lives, and how we can also fix a lot of those problems and change our attachment style, I think we would have a better world. Now, I went missing for a little while after that because I was working on my 300th video, which showed up in December. I keep going back to trauma and PTSD, and I feel like the general public doesn't know what these things actually mean. I am strongly committed to science, and I wanted to put together as best I could what we know from the research about PTSD and trauma. This is trauma. I tried to put this together in as fun of a way as I could and do something a little bit outside of the box from what I normally do on this channel. It was a lot of work, but I'm always experimenting because I'm still young when it comes to YouTube, and I'm still learning, and I want to get better so that we can all get better when it comes to mental health. This month was also the month that I had really serious laptop problems and I went missing again, which has been driving me nuts because I had a goal this year of doing 5 videos a week on average, and I got pretty close to that goal, but it was really hard for me to not be making videos in December. Laptop is fixed, I'm all good for now. My hard drive failed and I spent like a week and a half trying to recover my files. Altogether, I made 218 videos on mental health in 2017. I can only imagine what's coming in 2018. For 2018, I have plans once again to switch things up. As we know, sometimes I make big plans and they don't pan out. Look out for it because this channel is going to have a little bit of a restructure. I'm going to try to do topics that are a little bit more broad, that appeal to more people, because when I do these disorder videos, those are still going to be there, but when I focus so hard in on specific disorders and very like minute details of things, it leaves a lot of people out. And if you came here because you were looking for information on borderline personality disorder, for example, and I don't do another video about borderline personality disorder for 7 months, you're not going to want to stick around. So my plan for 2018 is to open it up a little bit and do videos on workplace issues, on love, on friendships, and just general socializing, and maybe get a little bit more personal, hopefully, in 2018. 2017 has been quite a ride for all of us. I am glad that you are here with me, and I hope that you will join me further into 2018 in my mission of humanizing mental health. If you're not subscribed already, please head on over to youtube.com/RyanLiberty, hit that subscribe button. I will probably be working through New Year's night to get this stuff done to plan for the new year, but I'd love to know what you're doing for New Year's. Let me know down in the comments so we can all celebrate together. Happy New Year, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful transition from 2017 into a brand new 2018. Bye, everyone.